in celebration of Women's History Month, we are highlighting exceptional Las Vegas women. That's why I am so thrilled today to invite onto the show Claytee White. She is the Director of Oral History Research at the center, actually, at UNLV. She joins us today to talk about some extraordinary Las Vegas women who really helped build our city. Claytee, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. And I'm here to talk about some of the African American women that we've investigated.
I love it. We have been investigating. In fact, you have been investigating these women for decades. You know them quite well. One woman we might as well start off with was a fabulous woman who was the first teacher at CCSD of African American descent.
That's correct. That's Mabel Hogarth. Came here in 1946, worked as a secretary in the beginning at Nellis Air Force Base, and then was hired by the school district.
Wow.
And now we have a school named for her.
Oh, where's the school? I always like to try to figure out where the schools are named. Where is that school? Do you know?
I don't have the exact address, but it is connected to Bonanza Village.
Ah.
So, yes, so right there in the heart of the West Side.
There we go. Sometimes you
Yes.
see a name, you're not sure what's the history behind that name. Now you see that. Let's talk about some. Oh, I'm sorry, JJ.
No, I believe it's on Tonopah, actually, because I had it pulled up, but it's incredible. And I believe in the early 70s, they changed the name of the school to be named after Mabel. So, yeah, very exciting. Go ahead, Sean.
That's fantastic. No, I was just going to ask, examples of Black American women that were working outside of the home over the years. Obviously, we say that like, oh, well, I mean, that happens all the time, but there was a time where it really didn't.
Black American women worked outside of the home all the time, starting back as soon as we arrived on the shores of the country. Here in Las Vegas, we worked outside of the homes in all kinds of businesses, flower shops, just all kinds of businesses, boarding houses. And then when we started the business corridor on the West Side, African American women owned businesses, worked in some of the cocktail lounges as cocktail waitresses, dealers. Before they could deal anyplace else, they could deal right there in the West Side.
Yes, and I recently, Claytee, highlighted some of the first Black showgirls that were dancing at the Moulin Rouge. So I love that era as well. But let's move on to a real trailblazing woman here in the Valley, and that is Lubertha Johnson.
That's correct. Lubertha Johnson came during World War II, probably about 1942. She first worked as the recreational director at Carver Park, where African Americans lived near BMI, Basic Magnesium Incorporated. And after that, she owned a ranch in Paradise, the township of Paradise, where she held meetings for many, many Black organizations. And then she started an organization named Operation Independence, and that had to do a lot with childcare. She was just amazing.
Wow. Really, really incredible. There was the formation of the local chapter of the NAACP as well. Were women involved with the creation of that?
Of course, back in 1928, when our branch of the NAACP started, we had two women who were part of the five people who started that, Zimmy Turner and Mary Nettles. Mary Nettles worked outside the home. She owned a boarding house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing to learn all about the boarding houses and the areas on the West Side that were so significant to the Black community here in the past. Claytee, in the background, in you and I preparing for this interview, we tried to gather some images of Lubertha and Mabel, and we found that it was a bit challenging. And I think we should share with people why that is the case.
Well, it's challenging because African Americans didn't always trust institutions with their valuables, with their treasures. And we didn't have the opportunity to even share most of those treasures because no one considered that history as valuable history. It is only today that we're actually beginning to collect that history in the way that it should be collected. So we missed a lot of the history along over time, but we're making up for it.
Well, I was going to say, this is history that might have been lost forever if it wasn't for the hard work that you and the library there at UNLV are doing to make sure that the story's being told, because this is important to the formation not only of our city, but also to Black Americans everywhere.
And lots of other people are beginning to collect the history here in Las Vegas as well. Not just the university, but we have other people who are collecting the histories of like the first schools and all kinds of other histories in the Black community. So together, yes, it is being collected.
I love the work you're doing.
And well,
Thank
yes,
you.
and we love that you've been at UNLV for what, almost 20 years, Claytee?
That's correct. Yes, 20
Yes.
great
So
years.
thank
It's
you
about
for
time to
contributing. And it's about time to what?
retire.
I thought you
All
said
right.
that.
The clock's starting to wind down. All right, fair enough. But
Oh,
it's
no.
great work
You
that
need
you're
a
doing, Claytee.
successor.
And it's great to talk to you. Yes,
Oh,
make
yes,
sure there is one. There needs to be
good.
a
I'm
plan
looking
of succession, always.
good. I'm
There you
looking
go.
right now.
All right. Well, we appreciate you and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
so much for having me.
If you'd like to learn,
Bye-bye.
go to library.unlv.edu. Lots of amazing history here in our city.